Today on the Life Surfing Podcast. Don't cling to anything blindly.
You realize that it's not only valuable to have the beautiful experiences, but it is even more valuable not to cling to anything. That is why when I speak about life surfing, I remind everybody, bring consciousness to the moment. Live the moment wakefully, being in touch with all what is taking place in you without identifying with it. But still, sometimes it's good to remember the term life surfing. It is very valuable when you see that when we are not trapped in our judgmental process and our heart is open, we are vulnerable and we see and feel many things. And it is beautiful. And when it spontaneously happens, it's very, very valuable. But as Jonas put it, the tendency to hold to this beautiful space, that becomes the real challenge, because when it is beautiful, we want to have it forever. But the fact is that everything is changing. We are going on changing, the other is going on changing, the context is changing. And this is what we need to also befriend, this understanding that everything is going on, moving and changing in life. This is a passing phenomena, and that is why it becomes necessary to bring in consciousness. Otherwise it is enough just you are fighting for having the best, having the good and trying to get it for yourself and all that. But those who are aware see that you cannot settle in anything. Everything changes. And then you realize that, it is in the very nature of the reality that even the most fascinating and beautiful experiences which we have, in so many ways, we cannot hold to it. The feelings are changing in us, the feelings are changing in the other, the situations are changing physically, mentally, energetically, and in so many ways, from all sides, there are different dynamic processes in the work. So as your understanding and awareness deepens, you realize that it's not only valuable to have the beautiful experiences, but it is even more valuable not to cling to anything. That is why when I speak about life surfing, I remind everybody, bring consciousness to the moment. Live the moment wakefully, being in touch with all what is taking place in you without identifying with it. We are used to identifying, we want to have it and we want to say, I am like this. But the fact is, this I, which we are used to believing as the I, is part of a conditioned, illusory process. We cannot settle in it. It is almost like uncomfortable feeling in certain moments to even consider that it is all illusory and passing phenomena. But the fact is that we are born and we are going to die, whether we like it or not. This body is born, this body will also die. Our personality comes into manifestation and it is also going on changing. It's also in different development. We cannot also hold to anything. At first, for the human being to come in touch with this fact is very disturbing, uncomfortable, because it shakes up the whole feeling of control and security and permanence. You want to settle, you want to hold to something, you want to have everything in grip, you want to prove that I am somebody. It's all human, but it's also the reality that whatever we have, whatever we identify with, it is in an ongoing process of change. In Buddha's teaching, one of the first indications is anicca. Anicca means non-permanence. Everything is moving and changing. And Buddha has been, in a way, misunderstood by many people because he brings attention to the difficult aspects of life when he says life is dukkha. It looks as if he's saying it in a pessimistic way. But let us be courageously honest to look at it. Don't believe him, but don't disbelieve him also. Consider it. And then you will realize that in our attempt to hold and settle with that what is pleasant, beautiful, comfortable, which is like a dream for us, we are already creating the basis for suffering. Because in the fact, you cannot hold to it. It is like in winter there are all these icicles hanging in the area of the buildings sometimes, where the water has been freezing as it was flowing, and then for a while it is there, and children would like to play with it and hold to it and take it home and keep it. But by the time they are taking it home and it comes into the warmer rooms, it's already melting. And then they are a little disappointed because they wanted to keep it so much. And the parents are also helpless. What to do? We are in a life process like that. And in deeper consideration, with a distance, without clinging, when we look at it, we will see that all what is there in this life process, the creator, the creation, the whole manifestation, is deeply, deeply intelligent. Is deeply, deeply compassionate. It is not a punishment. It is not something to create pain and suffering for us. So when we are aware that clinging creates the pain, when we are celebrating it when it is there and are aware that it will also pass by, then you get more rooted in a non-clinging way of being with life. There is grace, there is a certain gentleness and vulnerability which you live. But to our conditioning, where we are used to believing that I should have it in control, I want to settle here and this is me, and the approach of power, trying to hold to thing as if it's yours forever. It's beautiful, childish way of looking. But when you are careful and wakefully considering it, then you see that you cannot. That is why these experiences which you make, when you are ready to learn from it, then you see that it is a reminder. The pain is there connected with our expectation, our desire to hold to it. And you said about anger. Against whom are you angry? Finally, if you look carefully, the whole anger is against the Creator, because the Creator has made it all like that. Why did He make it like this? But when you carefully consider, you will also see that, okay, it all makes sense. So consider carefully. That's why I am reminding everybody, don't just believe something blindly or disbelieve something blindly. consider, reconsider, go deeper. And when you are considering in that way, you are beginning to get a little inner distance to the whole situation. And that is what reveals to you the beauty, the wonder, the compassion, the care which is behind the whole creation. In the Sufi tradition, they have an expression which says, Khuda Hafiz. God is compassionate. They have also a very interesting statement connected with it in a certain way. They say there are two things which are infinite in this existence. One is the compassion of the Creator, and the other is the foolishness of the human being. These are the two things which are infinite, they remind. Because we forget and we fall again and again into the same hole, same trap. So it is important that we go through the experiences as consciously as possible, and as Jonas was mentioning, not to get pulled into the negative reaction process. Yes, and as you mentioned, it requires your alertness, your presence. It doesn't happen automatically. Automatically what comes is anger, disappointment, bitter, fighting. All human, but just going blindly with our human reactions is not helping us to understand and live a life of compassion, of love, of joy, of playfulness. And what is really making us free is becoming aware of the nature of the reality, so that we can see that it is left to us. Whether we cling to these desires, whether we cling to these concepts and make it into a suffering, or whether we see that it is the nature of life, so I go gracefully about it. It is to the unconscious approach of the human mind Buddha is reminding that life is dukkha. But through his indication, when you become alert and start questioning what is making it pessimistic looking, what is making it painful, then you see that he is not pessimistic, he is indicating the automatic and unconscious way of going, which make it suffering for us. And through awareness, we are able to see that we don't need to get trapped, we don't need to cling, and that life has its way. And the more we are open to allow and consider and go carefully, the more we flow in tune with the life. So this is also the meaning of life surfing, to be patient, to be present, to be observant of all that what is taking place with you. And through this awareness, to be able not to get trapped, to be able not to be bound. Especially when you are in touch with all this without identifying in an unconscious and blind way, then there is a deepening of the awareness process taking place. You are not taking sides into the dualistic process of the mind. You see the so-called good and the so-called bad parallel without choosing one blindly against the other. And through this awareness, when you go and give the energy into the goodness, it is not fighting blindly against the bad. Because you start seeing The so-called bad is like darkness. You don't need to fight against it. All what is required is to bring the light of consciousness, and thereby enable the life energy to move in that direction which you find is healthy, which is intelligent, which is sensible. Any other question, anyone who is present here or who is participating from elsewhere? If no questions are there, we sit the next 20 minutes with all what is there, without trying to hold to anything, without trying to change anything, but also not identifying with anything. Whatever is there, what is apparent and what is undercurrently going on behind it, let it all become transparent to you. You just be present to look at it all. When there is irritation, that is the periphery of it, but you look what is behind the periphery, what are the undercurrent factors, what is going on, what is your expectation, what is your wish, what is the longing which is there in you, which is preventing you from being with the moment in the non-struggling way. So look and allow the factors which are working in you to become conscious, transparent as much as possible. So with this orientation, with closed eyes, we sit the next 20 minutes.